Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today I am going to discuss how to successfully manage a face-to-face interview. So how to successfully manage a face-to-face interview. Now this is something that most people are probably going to have to do at some point in time during the course of their life, is to be able to successfully handle an interview. And so that's what I'm going to discuss today. I know for a lot of people, interviews are very stressful, very make you very anxious, you get very nervous. And so what I want to do is to share some tips with you that I've written down. And so I wrote several things down that I want to go through with you. Now, I have the luxury as well of teaching. There's this workshop I do every month, and where I take people through how to answer certain job interview questions. And so I'm gonna do a couple follow-up videos because there are a lot of different job interview questions and how you can respond to a lot of those questions. But today I just want to focus on how you handle the actual face-to-face interview. Not so much so the questions specifically, we'll get to that eventually, but just managing that face-to-face interview. That's what we're going to discuss in today's video. All right, so as I've said, I wrote down several tips, and so I guess let's just get at it. So the first thing is you must do your research, right? You must do your research. Research the company, right? Make sure you do some research about the company before going into the interview. In this day and age, that is very easy to do because you can get online and you can do that research, right? So make sure you get online, do some research about the company, right? And a lot of times it's very beneficial to you or to know what that company does when you get in there, right? Because they're probably going to ask you at some point, do you know what we do here? And so one way to begin impressing your potential employer is to be able to talk about what their organization does. It shows that you spent the time, you did the homework, right, necessary, and it also demonstrates a level of seriousness that you have in that you did take time to do the homework to learn about the organization, right? And so that does seem to suggest you're someone who's seriously trying to work there. So what might you be looking for, right? Yes, you want to know what the company does. That's obviously one of the first things that you want to do. You also want to check to see, well, do they have, perhaps, are they just a national organization? In other words, are they only located within the country, so within the US or whatever country you're in? Or are they across the world? Are they a global company? That might be something you want to know. You might also be interested in moving from different branches within the US, living in a different state. So are they just local in one state? Are they regional across a certain parts of the US? Are they international, right? In different countries, they have offices and locations in different countries. Those are things that you want to know, and it's very beneficial to you to be able to discuss those things in the job interview. So pay attention to that, right? Also, when it comes to, for example, are they an award-winning company? So what industry are they in? And if you can find those magazines, right, specific to those industries, again, you can find that stuff online again, and you can look it up to see, is this a company that's won awards or whatever the case is. So when they ask you, why do you want to work for them, why do you want to work here, that might be one of the things that you mentioned. You want to work for a company that demonstrates excellence. It also might be in areas of humanitarian efforts and stuff like that, things that you also interested in, not just saying it to get a job, but you might also be able to demonstrate that with stuff that you have on your resume, with experiences that you have on your resume, to show that you are someone who it stands for a cause or whatever the case is, and work for different causes, you advocate for different causes. So the different ways that you can pad that. So for all of you who think that volunteering is not good, it is a good thing. And I would suggest that if you do that type of work, make sure that you put it on your resume as well. Any positive thing that helps to make a difference when you get to the job interview. So do your homework, right? Do your homework, research the company. All right, number 2 is more homework. Do your homework about the job description and look at the details in the job description. What is it that they're exactly asking you to do? What are they really asking you to do, right? Make sure, a lot of times people have very fancy ways of describing what exactly is it that they're going to be expecting from you. So go through that. Again, do your research. Don't be afraid to use Google or whatever the case is, right? Do your research, ask friends, whatever, and make sure you understand what it is, because when you do that, you're able to then look at your resume and your experiences and compare it to what they're asking, and then anticipate even better the types of questions you might be faced with, and then how you could respond to those questions. Because when you see certain things in the job details, you see it lining up on your resume, you're able to anticipate better and perhaps have better responses prepared for when you get to your job interview. So again, do your homework about the job description. It could pay off really, really, really well for you. All right, that's number 2. The next one is to arrive ahead of time. Obviously, you don't want to be late for the job interview, right? So arrive ahead of time. A lot of people give you different times, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I think 30 minutes is really, really good, right? 30 minutes. If you've never been to the place, you don't know, and maybe hopefully you've done some little searching again on the internet, but you don't know what's the distance from when you park to getting to the office location where the actual interview is taking place. And so sometimes they might give you the address to get to a certain location where you might meet the receptionist, but the interview is not till another end of the building, and so you've got to walk 5 minutes here, then it takes another 3-4 minutes to go that way, and you showed up only 10 minutes ahead of time, and that could be a problem. So make sure that you definitely get there. I would say about 30 minutes ahead of time. The other thing is you don't want to be running there breathing heavy, risk getting sweaty, for all that type of stuff, getting sweat all over your face and all. You don't want to do all that type of stuff. So try to get there ahead of time. Try to get there. I'd say 30 minutes so you can park. You take your time. You walk in, or if someone's dropping you off, they drop you off, and then you walk in. You're breathing right. You're not. Those little things matter, right? Because a lot of times when you're stressed out and you're panicking and you're thinking you're gonna be late, and you get anxious and you get even more nervous, and then you can't focus, and then you can't concentrate, and then you can't. So the little things matter, such as you getting there about 30 minutes on time could make a huge difference in how you're mentally prepared to respond to job interview questions. All right, I believe that's number 3. Number 4, dress like you want the job, right? Make sure you dress like you want the job. No, not like you have the job. So that's what I tell people. Dress like you want the job, like you're trying to get it, not like you already have it. And so the difference is you're going to dress professional. Now, sometimes it's very dangerous telling people to dress professional, right? They don't quite know what professional is. I would suggest, again, you do your research, look up. Right here on Google, you can see what it's like to dress professional for a job interview. So make sure you invest in, again, doing the research. I think most people know, but if you don't, make sure you ask someone, or whatever the case is. Use your resources. If you don't have what you feel is the appropriate clothing, I'm going to say this, don't feel like you're too good enough. Maybe if you have to borrow some clothes. Remember, you're trying to get to a job so you can get your finances together so you can do the things that you want to do. If you got to go to the Goodwill store to get you a tie and a pants and a decent shirt or a jacket or whatever the case is, you're not too good to do it. I had to do stuff like that. I have been to the Goodwill store when I was really broke back in the day, and I was trying to get myself together to get into a job interview, whatever the case is. I had to do what I had to do. I didn't feel like I was too good to go to a Goodwill store to get me some stuff to go into a job interview to get me a job so I don't have to struggle anymore, right? So, use your common sense. Don't feel like you're too good to get yourself together, to get in there, to make a good impression to try to get yourself out of the situation that you're in. So dress for success. Don't forget that. Number 5, build a relationship while you're in the interview. Now you might be wondering, how can I build a relationship while I'm in the interview? Building a relationship in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and an hour. How do you do that? It's actually very, very straightforward. So, in a job interview, at different pointing times, people might randomly say stuff. You might respond to something and they might joke, "Oh, I wish I can get my dog to do that." Or I wish I can get my cat to do that. Or I wish so and so. People say things here and there. You gotta listen. Don't just hear what they're saying. Listen and pay attention to the details. When I worked in sales, I realized, and I got really good at this. I used to work in sales and I used to sell stuff over the phone. And I got really good at listening to what was going on in the background, also listening to what the person was saying. So if they talked about a kid, or they talked about a dog, or they talked about whatever, I was able to relate in some way. I could talk about the fact that I had a dog too. Or if they went to a certain school, well, I know someone who went there. Or, I mean, whatever the situation, you're always able to, when you're able to find common ground between you and the interviewer or interviewers, because you might have more than one person interviewing you. So when you're able to find those common grounds, the things that you have in common, you're building a relationship, and people start to be able to see you working with them because they're starting to realize that perhaps they have more stuff in common with you. Now look, as much as you can go in there with a bunch of stuff in your resume about your skills and qualifications and your this and whatever the case is, a lot of times it's a personality contest as well. And so yes, you got to be able to show your personality. And one thing, and besides that, one thing is, if people can see that they have stuff in common with you when they're walking, I could see myself working with her. I could see myself working with him. That's because you were able to build that relationship in there, and that stuff makes a huge difference. And you can ask questions as well, right? So what is it that that's obviously when you get to the end of the interview and they say, so what questions do you have for us? And you can start asking those things. Listen to some of the responses that they give. Look for your opportunity to be able to have more of a conversation in there instead of just a back and forth, forth. You ask me, I answer. You ask me, I answer. You ask me, I answer. And it was just kind of a robotic experience that you had, instead of trying to really find ways to create a connection with these people inside of the room. It's a skill, it's a technique, but you can do it, right? Listen, look for little things that you could then turn into a conversation. Somebody says, "Oh, I wish I can get my dog to do that." "Oh, what type of dog do you have?" "I have a," so before you realize it, you've gone off on like a 2-3 minute tangent talking about somebody's dog or whatever the case is. Again, that's a good thing. You start building it's a psychology thing. You start building a relationship with those people. All right, that's number 5, I believe. Number 6 is nonverbal communication. Right, so nonverbal communication. Right, so obviously one part of that is the way you dress, right? The other thing is, remember to smile, right? Just remember to just crack a smile, right? Don't be all beast faced in beast mode all the time. Remember to smile, right? And relax. Look at the way you carry yourself. When you sit, please don't go all the way back and slouch like you're at home watching the TV, just relaxing, whatever. Nope, make sure that you sit up. Make sure that you're engaged. And in Western cultures like the US, Canada, places like that, Australia, people want eye contact when they're talking to you. And when you respond, make sure you look at them. When you respond also, if you're in a panel interview and obviously one person will ask you a certain question, look at them when you're answering, but also look at everyone else as you're talking. Right? So look at everyone else as you're talking. Don't just look at the person alone who asked you the question. All right, the other thing about nonverbal communication is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. For heaven's sake, sound like you want the job. Sound like you are. Let me hear some eagerness in your voice, like you're upbeat, you got some energy. Yeah, you're not robotic. "Well, sir, what do you think about?" well, when I was at so so and so and so, I did so 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 and so and so, and I did so so. Ooh, geez. And then they're gonna say, oh wow, this person was so robotic after you leave the room. So make sure that you have some energy, that you have some little bit of zazz to you inside of the no. Be careful, but make sure that you could show some energy. So you're enthusiastic. You sound like you actually want the job. And one way to do that is to tell stories. So when they ask you certain questions that allow for storytelling, and I'm going to get into some of those questions in other videos, but make sure when you're telling those stories, it's the upbeat nature of how you're telling the story. Not like you're trying to put people to sleep, but you're actually telling the story in such a way that it seems really interesting. They can hear the excitement in your voice. Oh yeah, this is somebody that I want to work with, right? So keep that in mind. I believe that's number 6, right? So don't handshake before we move on. Don't forget to that initial handshake. Make sure you give firm handshakes at the beginning and then again at the end. All right, number 7. I kind of talked about that a little bit already, which is to show some enthusiasm, and you can do that by telling stories. So that's number 7. I kind of lumped that in with number 6. I got a little carried away, but number 7 is to show some enthusiasm, and you can do that when you answer with stories. And there's some questions specifically where it allows for storytelling, and I'm going to get into that in subsequent videos that I will post. All right, so that's number 7. Did I miss anything? Let me make sure I went through my list here. All right, number 8 is your personality. All right, so make sure you find ways to put your personality out there. As much as you got stuff in the resume, they've got to be able to see your personality. I have to be able to see myself working with you as well. It's great that you got all this stuff in the resume and all that, but a lot of times people want to be able to see themselves working with you. So show some personality. That's the smiling, that's the laughing, the storytelling can help you with that. You sound upbeat. They can get a sense of who you really are, right? So get out of your way a little bit and show who you are, right? Watch your boundaries, but get out of your way a little bit and show who you are. Be yourself, right? Be yourself. That could be a dangerous thing to say, but with common sense, be yourself. All right, the other thing is, and a lot of people forget it, at the end of the interview, final thing, the end of the interview is make sure that you say thank you. You know, back in the old day, people would send a card, and hey, you could still send a card. So they'll still put something in snail mail, and they'll send it off and all that sort of stuff. These days, you can just send an email, right? So you know the names of everyone in the panel. You can find that out. You can ask them their names or whatever the case is. And or you can send it to the names that you remember and ask those people to just send them out. But you can send an email after the interview and let them know, thank you very much for taking the time to interview me. If there are any questions that you'll need me to any further questions that you need me to respond to answer, please let me know, that sort of stuff. But just saying thank you, something like that can make a lot of difference. When everyone goes into a room, and if you got 5 people that all got degrees, a bunch of them, they're all educated, they all got good experience, they all got, like, what sets you apart? All right, remembering to say thank you, remembering to show enthusiasm, showing your personality, telling those stories, making that relationship in that interview is critical. Yes, you want to talk about your experience and all that type of stuff, but those small little details can make a huge difference in you getting that job. All right, so practice those things. If there are any other tips that anyone would love to share, please put them in the comments as well so that everyone can see them and I can see them as well. Stuff that I might also be able to incorporate in the training sessions that I do. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the video. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments. Please turn on your post notifications. Please check out my other videos. Please feel free to go back and check them out as well. Don't forget to hit the like button. That is also very important. And until next time, peace.